Okay, so what we're going to do today, we're going to go back to Moondance Part 1 because a lot of times when you're becoming more familiar with a song and playing it, as I assume you are with this particular song, it's really good to use it as a vehicle for discussing some other things because you already have the song well in mind, you have an idea how you're going to play it. And so it becomes a little bit easier to incorporate some new ideas on that already existing palette, in this case Moondance. And we have that nice karaoke rhythm track, which I love, that you can play along to. So with that in mind, we're going to discuss a couple of ideas today. So when we first did Moondance Part 1, what we did is we were playing the melody up an octave, up here in 5th position. I assume you've become somewhat proficient at that. And what we're going to talk about today is playing the melody in the actual octave that he sings it. And not only that, but playing that melody in 2 different positions. Just to kind of become familiar with the idea that you can even do that on guitar, and further realize that we're going to discuss 2 positions, but it could easily be played in probably 3 or 4 more positions just as easily. I don't know whether we'll get into that. If you want to, you can let me know. It really helps you to explore the fingerboard and get playing in places that you normally wouldn't play. So on Moondance 1A, basically what I have there is I have the same melody that we did in Moondance Part 1, but as I said, in the actual octave that it is sung in by Van Morrison in the original tune. So once again, hoping that you're familiar with the rhythm of the song and how the notes fall into the stream of time, it's just a matter of becoming familiar with this series of notes. I'm going to play through it. 1, 2. And of course, that would be repeated before you went into Moondance Part 2. So once again, this 1A is just replacing 1, and you're playing the melody in the original octave. I'm going to go ahead and set the background at 3/4 speed and play along with it. I'll count it in case you want to try to play along with me. If you're getting so good, you can just rip these things off without spending a lot of time on them. Let me get this back to the beginning. Then we repeat. And then we're going to Part 2 from there. Okay? But then we are also going to look at Moondance 1B, which is musically identical to Moondance 1A. The difference is we're going to play this. You see the Roman numeral 7. Normally when we indicate positions on guitar, we use Roman numerals. So that's a hint right before you start playing that you're going to be in 7th position. So you automatically bring your first finger up to the 7th fret, in this case on the D string, and we're going to play the exact same melody, except now we're going to play it in 7th position. So you might be wondering to yourself, why bother when you can play it in 1st position? Well, there are differences when you play in position. For example, when you're playing up in 7th position, you're playing on lower strings. You'll notice that you're going to be playing the same melody on the 4th string and on the 5th string. These strings are thicker. When you're playing it down here, like we did on 1A, you're primarily playing it on string number 3 and string number 2. String number 2 is a steel string. It's unwound. It's a little bit of a brighter sound. And string number 3 is not as thick a string as string number 4. So when we come up here, we're playing on thicker strings, so we end up having a difference in tone. Even though the melody is different, the tone of the notes is different. Hear that? A little bit more woody, and you'll probably especially notice that on your guitar. Your guitar is, just a real nice instrument that really is going to project these different sounds probably even better than this guitar. So on Moondance 1A, we have this. One B. Okay, I think you can hear that difference quite easily. I don't know how well it translates over the iPad, but it's really obvious to me, the difference in tone. A lot of jazz players especially will use upper position playing because many jazz players, traditional jazz guitar players, actually prefer that mellow, woody tone to their instrument. So it's not only a lesson in playing further up the neck and beginning to understand the concept of how that works on the guitar, but you actually want to listen for that difference. You're training your ear, and this is getting into the more sophisticated, artful ideas about playing music. So you're listening for tonal difference there, and it's something you want to be aware of. So listen for that when you're playing. So I'm going to go through and play through Moondance 1B. The nice thing about playing it in position here is you'll see we can play it all in one position. My hand is never going to leave 7th position. 1, 2, 3. That would repeat. Now I'm going to go ahead and play that along with the karaoke. Once again, set at 3/4 speed. 1, 2, 3. That goes into part 2 again. Okay, so those are some important ideas that I felt were worth considering since we have spent so much time on Moondance, and the song has no doubt become very familiar to you in the sense that you're playing it. I know you've probably known the song for as long as it's been around. I think it came out in the 70s, frankly. It's a pretty old song, but it's a very popular song. I've played this song in bands even, well, when I was playing in bands, before the world went crazy, even as recently as a year or two ago, playing this song because it's, kind of an all-time classic. So it is definitely a song worthy of the attention that we've been giving it. Okay? So go ahead and work on those melodic ideas. Give some thought to the tonal differences that we were exploring. And when you're playing in position, another thing that you want to keep in mind, technique-wise, is pay attention to your fingers as they move up in position. You want very little movements. You don't want the fingers to come far off of the fretboard. When I play it, the finger that you can pay the most attention to is the pinky. The pinky tends to want to fly off of the guitar neck. Tends to want to do that, really fly off once you lift it up. So learning to control that. This way it's right here, because when we play in position, basically every finger kind of has its assigned fret. In this case, the fret assigned to the pinky is the 10th fret. So you always want it hovering around the 10th fret. So when you're playing in position, think about having that good left hand position. We don't always have to have that. I'm not a stickler for it. I don't care if we play chords and we're wrapping our thumb around or whatever the case may be. But when you're playing in position, especially when you're playing melodies, there's a real advantage to keeping good control over the fingers. So that's another thing that you can think of while you're learning these melody lines and while you're playing them along with karaoke. So I would appreciate some feedback somewhere along the line on this tune. Mainly, are you able to accomplish what we've been talking about? Are you able to put on this karaoke at 3/4 speed, for example, or half speed, I don't care, and actually play parts 1, 2, and 3 and string them together? Or maybe you're still working on part 3, but in that case, can you play part 1 and 2? Or maybe you haven't got that far. Can you just play part 1 effectively along with the karaoke? I would be interested in knowing that. So get back to me on that. Okay? Talk to you later.